forecast for the week of April 23rd, 2023. That's 423-2023. So we've had a solar eclipse. Mercury is retrograde, and you're thinking, well, that's all behind us. That was quite a week, wasn't it? I thought that was quite a week. What I felt mostly, I mean, in the collective, a lot of stuff happened. It was a very tense week in the collective, but the collective's always kind of a shit show anyway. So what are you going to do? But I felt a lot of tension right around Wednesday, Thursday. I thought the midweek stuff was very sort of ramped up a little bit. The frustration level, the index of irritability, and people seem to be pretty high as we were at midweek. Well, and it was a solar eclipse, so we'll have to sort of see what comes of it. Anyways, that's in the past, although maybe it is, maybe it isn't. This week, we kind of have easy energy. We can kind of walk out maybe some of the stuff that happened last week and sort of figure out what to do with it. There's some good, healthy, planetary positivity happening this week, which I think is really worth paying attention to as the moon waxes towards Friday's first quarter moon in Leo. And so we would be looking at a sort of ability to get things moving, putting things into place, especially because there's nice harmonious aspects taking place this week. But before we get there, we have Sunday. And on Sunday, Jupiter, expansive and very, very happy out in the end of Aries. He loves to be out there. Jupiter meets with Eris. Eris is the goddess of discord. Actually, in Roman, she's Discordia. She's the troublemaker goddess. Now, maybe she gets into trouble for things that she has a reason for and things like that. Maybe it's not random trouble or anything like that, but maybe sometimes it is. So we'll have to see what happens there on Sunday when this Jupiter Eris energy kind of peaks. You'd be feeling it maybe a day or two before. It's almost like it's an extension of, and maybe a little bit of I don't want to call it a trigger for the solar eclipse because technically it's not, but a bit of an expansion of that energy it's a more tension. It's more tension, although it's a very outward going kind of tension. But all is not lost on Sunday, the 23rd. We have some great aspects that are very helpful in communication. We have Neptune trying to Pallas Athene, and Neptune in Pisces trying to Pallas Athene in Cancer suggests the ability to communicate emotionally, getting that emotional message across. At the same time, Mercury retrograde is sextile to Mars. And this is the ability to get your message across more, well, I would say more or less directly, except Mars is in Cancer and Mercury is retrograde. So maybe it'll be a little bit less direct, but it should help with communication a bit. Now, for those of you who have, at this point in time, I'd have to call it a long memory, if something went wrong or awry in your communications right around April 8th, you may get a revisit of it. Probably not the final, result of the situation, but you get a revisit of it, the redo. Maybe you start to clear things up if things went wrong. If you thought things were going fine, maybe you have to go. Maybe you find that things weren't so fine after all. So keep that in mind. That's right around the weekend. I mean, I've got to say that's really the energy for Sunday. It might hang over a little bit into Monday, and then we have the Gemini moon, so it could kind of help. But we'll see. Now, as we go forward on Tuesday, the sun is sextile to Saturn. That is a very good aspect. It's an excellent aspect for getting stuff done. It is very much this kind of communication that's happening between the sun, the solar principle, what your life is about, and Saturn, the structures of your life. Now, I mean, we have to grant the fact that it's not necessarily the signs that these two planets would do the best in. But again, it's sort of, it's very earthy. I feel that it's a great time to plant a garden. That would be one great thing to do. It's a good time for any sort of house projects, construction types of things. Waxing moon and Saturn sextile the sun, Taurus and Pisces. And for other creative endeavors, you might get something going. I think it's a pretty good time for you to, it's a great time for like playing music or writing, doing painting. It's a great time for creative endeavors. And if you're at work, I think it would be a pretty good time for, let's call it like sort of a creative approach to work. There's no other major aspects this week. That's what we have coming up till we have the first quarter moon in Leo. Before that, we again get the Cancer moon. The Cancer moon will be in place Wednesday, Thursday, and you'll feel again what it's like to have the moon in Cancer. This is the second month where the moon is in Cancer, doesn't have to deal with Pluto, has to deal with Mars, but doesn't have to deal with Pluto. And there's a different feel to it. So see what goes on. See if, do we get that Cancerian protectiveness and security issues? Or do we lean a little bit more towards the nurturing side of things? It's also another great time to be planting things. That's probably a very good time to plant things because the moon is in Cancer. If you can get it done while the moon is in Taurus before this forecast takes effect. So that is kind of your outline for the week. The only other thing to say, though, is as we get towards the weekend, Friday night, we have the first quarter moon in Leo. That'll continue. I would imagine Friday night would be the better weekend night to get out. And that's good. Weekend nights, moon in Leo. Hey, that's good. I like that. But what we're starting to feel maybe from this weekend and, maybe, next weekend, the weekend of the 27th and 28th, we're starting to get into the orb of Pluto's station to retrograde, which we'll talk about next week. So that's the outline of the week. We have these tense aspects as the week begins. We have Jupiter conjunct Eris every week lately. It's Jupiter and Mercury. People are going to be shouting. Every week lately, we've had something going on that begins the week with this kind of loud feeling. And it's on Sunday. And then I think that those Mars, Mercury, and Neptune Pallas aspects will help to smooth things out a little bit. The Sun and Saturn on Tuesday, good start to the beginning of the week. Very, moon is in Gemini, sociable. Again, communication. Mercury is retrograde, but there's communication happening. And, maybe some of it will go through okay. And then as we get to the weekend, we have the Leonine energy predominating, maybe starting to feel some of that energy of Pluto station. Hey, if you're around next Saturday, April 28th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, we will have another live, right here on YouTube, live astrology hangout. The theme will be Pluto in Aquarius and Saturn in Pisces so far. What have we seen so far? I think there's some interesting stuff to talk about with that. And we'll also answer any questions I'll answer any questions that you have about other things. But that'll be kind of the focus of that. That will not be recorded. So you're either live or you're not seeing it. This is going to be a one-off type of thing for folks who want to come and see it live, who can come and see it live, but it won't be recorded. So I hope to see you there. In any event, have a good week, and I'll see you next week.